my friends? A little dark. I don't care. But Confederate statues keep getting taken down, and that's a good thing. I'll tell you why. I mean, first of all, the fact that you need explanation that there are people defending that those statues remain up, it's alarming. Um, Most of these people, the vast majority of them, um, they fought for all of them. The Confederate people, they fought for the right. The number one reason the Civil War happened was, and the actual reason that Civil War happened was that Confederate states wanted the right to own slaves because basically that was their that was their economic. The whole South and the whole country was actually built on slavery, from the White House to everywhere. Uh, Slave labor was used, but the South decided that they wanted to keep it. They wanted to keep their slaves, and they decided it was a state's issue, not a federal issue. So they went to war. All these people, from General Robert E. Lee to all the way to the rest of the Confederate uh, military people and statesmen and all these people that had statues built to honor them, they were all fighting for slavery, and a lot of them committed atrocities. They were monsters. They were willing to kill. There were 600,000 people killed in the Civil War, in the United States Civil War, and these people, that's what they fought for, to keep slaves. So they were willing to murder and kill. It went all the way to, it cost 600,000 human lives to undo this egregious chapter in human history, at least in the United States, called slavery. So for those who think that, say, oh well, slavery wasn't so bad, they had it good. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't like, first of all, somebody raping my daughter at will at night without my consent, or raping my wife. And I don't like having my feet cut off if I decide to run away to freedom. I don't like being sold to another man without my consent, and I certainly don't like being kidnapped and transported from my native Africa to, like some of my ancestors were, to be sold as an animal to another human being, and be owned, and have my children owned, and not, be flagellated and whipped, and I mean all the atrocities that happened to slaves. So all these people that most of the statues were built during the early 1900s, as a reminder of white supremacy. A lot of the statues were built by, I believe it was under Monroe, President Monroe, and it was just a reminder that, hey, we're still your bosses, and you're nothing. But during the segregation era, it was just a psychological reminder, psychological whip, and a physical whip against black people. Some of them being my ancestors. So let me put this in perspective for you. You fighting to keep Confederate statues in in the United States is like you making or putting up statues of Hitler, Himmler, Hermann Goering, Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda, and the rest of the architects of the largest genocide in the 20th century, in cities like Israel. It's like putting statues of, and defending the keeping of statues of those Nazi, who I consider those people to be human trash, and I consider also the Confederate generals to be human trash. I don't see any honor in these people, and so it's like you defending having statues of Confederate generals in the United States is like defending having statues of Hitler in Israel and Tel Aviv, having statues of Hitler in Paris, where he committed atrocities, having statues of Hitler in Poland, where he installed his notorious Auschwitz concentration camp in Treblinka, Buchenwald, the rest of the concentration camp. It's like having statues of Hitler in all those places where he committed the atrocities that he committed, him and his Nazi trash, which is what I consider these people to be, the Nazis and their supporters. And I still consider the people who support Nazi people to this day, including Donald Trump, I consider them to be human trash. So, and I also consider these people. So basically what you're saying is that it's okay to take a statue of Hitler and put it in the middle of Israel right now. And you're saying that it's okay to put a statue of Hitler right in front of the concentration camp in Auschwitz and the surrounding population. And you're also saying that it's okay to keep statues of Hitler in the United States, but let's just put them in Jewish neighborhoods in New York, Jewish neighborhoods in Miami, wherever there is a Jewish neighborhood. You're saying that it's okay to have a statue of Hitler because this, you're thinking that it's okay to have statues of Confederate generals in cities that are where there's a lot of black people and descendants of slaves, of enslaved African humans. You're saying that that's okay because you think that's part of history. So in order to preserve history, we have to have statues. That's your argument. You're a white supremacist, racist person, which is exactly what you are if you defend this. If you're defending having statues of people who fought for slavery, you're a white supremacist. There's no getting away from that. You're a racist white supremacist. You're not convincing anybody that you're not. You're a racist white supremacist. That's exactly what you are. I think these statues should be, all of them, removed and put in history museums that talk about the slavery and the Civil War, in the Confederate museums, and have full articles engraved on beside the statues, enumerating and narrating all the crimes and all the atrocities that these generals did in order to preserve slavery. If you want to keep it history, and the histories will document it. Histories will document it. It's not going anywhere because they take those statues down. Okay? You want history to preserve? Fantastic. Let's do museums where the statues are explained and all the crimes that these monsters committed against humanity, they're enumerated so that they never, ever get forgotten and they never get repeated. So your argument that we were destroying history is exactly that. Dog shit. It's absolute dog shit. If you defend these people, and I repeat myself, you're just as much trash as these people. Personally, I think they should take Andrew Jackson and remove every statue of that man. He was the man who committed the big genocide against the Native Americans. Removed some of my Native American ancestors from our ancestral land and moved them in what's called the Trail of Tears March. That man, sure, let's just keep each and every one of the presidents that committed this atrocities and put a list of their crimes underneath their statues, so that for historical purposes, their atrocities are never, ever, ever forgotten, and they're written in history. Also, we could put Abraham Lincoln's, murderous acts against Native Americans when he ordered the murder of Native Americans right after the Declaration of Independence, or not the independence, declaring the freeing the slaves. He went ahead and committed mass murder against Native Americans. Let's just put it all in perspective. While we're at it, we can put also, and I'm not being sarcastic, I think this should be done so that we stop this worshiping of people that committed atrocities. I think they should put underneath Lyndon B. Johnson the atrocities he committed with the Vietnam War. I think they should do it to the Bush administration, both Bushes, father and son, talk about the 1.3 million civilians that they murdered in Iraq. Um, Come on, let's just keep it going, so that history is honored, so that we know the truth about the atrocities that this man committed. I don't care what party they were from. I don't care where. Just tell the truth. Under each president, don't just put their accomplishment, put their fuck ups. Okay, and let's just not venerate and worship these monsters. None of them. I don't care which one it is. So that the truth about the history of this country is known, and the truth about the history of this country and this nation is that it was built on slavery, rape, genocide, and land theft. Let's just write it like it is, okay? So that it never, never, ever happens again. Because it's always been like that. That's not true in history when other methods have been venerated and worshiping, mass murder, slavery, rape, genocide, all of that. We need to stop that. And hopefully, in the future, what we become, instead of being a bunch of countries that kill each other and steal from each other and destroy each other, we become a human race. We start looking at our species as one, and we start, all of us, as a human race, taking care of our planet and taking care of each other, so that these atrocities don't continue to get committed. Because this tribalism and separation by countries and borders and all that shit has failed us miserably as a species. We need to start thinking, if we are to survive as a species, we need to start thinking as a species more than nationalities, and we need to start thinking as inhabiting this small rock, this little speck of sand in a ginormous universe, if we are to survive.